Hello and welcome into another edition of the Prep Zone, where we talk about all the high school action in the DMV. I'm Jeremy Huber, joined today by Brandon Roth of DMVElite.com, Adam Ayalu of Vantage Hoops. Both guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Lots to talk about on the show. Oh, so much going on. National Signing Day stuff. Also, lots of basketball on the show today. We'll go ahead and recap the big one between DeMatha and Gonzaga. Also, a couple games from the Virginia Showcase. Woodbridge, Hopewell, and Battlefield Kecoughtan. Also, a nice one between Bullis and St. Albans. And, of course, we'll take a look at the National Signing Day action. Lots of folks for football finding new homes. Also, we'll preview the matchup between Riverdale Baptist and National Christian. Do the same for that Prince William County contest between Stonewall Jackson and Osborne. And also, our Josh Apple will sit down with Nagi Marshall. So, lots to do on the show today. Remember, if you want to go ahead and watch the show, this is the way to do it. You see it on your screen, all the different places and ways to watch the Prep Zone. Also, again, lots of different ways to do it, so make sure to tune us in all the time. It's convenient for you here on the Prep Zone. Of course, we'll talk about all this coming up, but before we do all that, we'd like to take a look at the upcoming DMVSTREAM.COM Nova Challenge at Marshall High School on April 10th.
It's the DMVSTREAM.COM Nova Challenge. The third annual installment of Northern Virginia's premier All-Star Basketball Showcase event is expanding. This year's April 10th event will welcome the top seniors from Fairfax, Loudoun, Arlington, Prince William, and the city of Alexandria for an action-packed day. In addition to the two All-Star games, the area's best public school basketball players will compete in a dunk contest and a three-point contest. Underclassmen will also have access to a developmental clinic hosted by our friends at Evolution Basketball. Now, not only has this year's event grown from one game to two, but by becoming the title sponsor of this event, DMVSTREAM.com will be providing you, the viewers and fans, the exceptional, state-of-the-art coverage you've come to expect from us. As the Mid-Atlantic's #1 source for live sports broadcasting, well, DMVSTREAM.com, we're going to broadcast this year's event live to computers, tablets, mobile devices, and we'll also make the replays available on demand on the internet, as well as our relationships with local cable television access channels. DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournament organizations throughout the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBSSports.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia Productions and DMVSTREAM.com has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of multimedia. Now, the DMVSTREAM.com Nova Challenge, featuring Nova's premier basketball players on April 10th. You can find out more about that at DMVSTREAM.com and NovaChallenge.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome back in. Lots of basketball action to talk about here on the Prep Zone. We're going to go ahead and get right to it. And of course, the big game to look at on the weekend rewind, it's that huge one between DeMatha and Gonzaga. Brandon, how did this one go? It was another great one between these two long-term rivals.
Yep, obviously, like you said, a big rivalry game, and you're talking about two nationally rated teams here, so it was good from beginning to end. You started off with Gonzaga. They really jumped off to a big lead. Chris Likes and Prentice Hub had a big first half, really setting the tone for Gonzaga, coming out early, getting the crowd hype. But it wasn't quite enough. I mean, DeMatha came out in the second half with Markel Fultz, DJ Harvey, and Nate Darling, and they all were able to just drill the basket all second half. And they ended up coming away with a win, 66-62. You have Markel Fultz. Really, all you got to do in the second half is give him the ball, and that's what they did. They were able to hand it off to Markel, and he went and got the W.
Yeah, of course, Fultz again has shown why he is doing so many good things. Of course, the Washington commit. And again, we talked about it a little bit, Gonzaga got off to a good start in this one. Prentice Hub had a really good start to the game, kind of trailed off a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, he had 6 threes in the first half. I mean, that's unheard of. You don't see that in high school basketball very often. But he only had 6 points in the whole second half, so it was definitely a tale of two halves for him. we talked about, he's a young guy, so he had plenty of time to right the ship on that and have a game where he could score 50 in a whole game.
Yeah, you look at Hub and Likes, of course, doing some good things last year in the tournament against DeMatha, doing some good things this one. But again, it's all about Markel Folt. Again, another big game for him for the Stags standout.
Yeah, when it boils down to it, Markel's the best player in the area, hands down. I mean, he can play point, he can play 2, he can play 3. He's a big guy that you can put the ball in his hands and he can just go get it. He can go pass you the ball. He did a lot of passing in the second half, actually, and found a lot of Nate Darling open threes, and that's really what helped them change the game.
Of course, 28 points for Fultz in that game, and of course, DeMatha gets revenge for the loss at DeMatha earlier in the season, 11 days earlier, 73-70 Gonzaga triumph. Of course, these two teams may meet a few more times before the season's over. WCAC playoffs, also some of the postseason tournaments as well. Again, probably going to be some classic games between these two longtime rivals. Let's go ahead and take a look at a Virginia public school game, part of the Virginia Showcase. Adam, it was Woodbridge local squad taking on Hopewell of the Richmond area.
That's right. Woodbridge met with Hopewell in Vantage Hoops Virginia High School Classic in Richmond. The score was Woodbridge 64, Hopewell 62. It was a close game the entire way. It was tied 31 at half. Woodbridge actually forced 17 turnovers, but committed only 8. A number of players stepped up for the Vikings. 2017 guard Colby Washington had 13 points, and he also recorded 3 steals. 2016 Donnell Boykin also recorded 3 steals. The top performer for Woodbridge was senior guard Cam Robinson. He scored 18 points and also dished out 5 assists. He also was really good on defense. He also recorded a steal. He was really good in transition. He did a lot of one-dribble pull-ups, and he was stopping on the dime, and he was really tough to handle in transition. Another guy who really stepped up was Jordan White, who'd really displayed a nice shooting touch from the perimeter. He hit 2 first-half threes, scored 8 points, and was 3 or 4 from the field.
And Robinson, the standout guard for this Woodbridge team. And of course, did it look like, these games can always be a little bit weird where you're seeing teams you may not see that much of in a tournament setting like this. Was it kind of Robinson helping them get over any kind of jitters against seeing a team they don't normally see that very often?
You know what? It was just a balanced attack altogether. I mean, Robinson obviously is the senior leader and one of the best players in the region. And he really played like it on Saturday. He really did an excellent job and was all money from pretty much all areas, in particular the mid-range, and he really stepped up for Woodbridge in a win, and a big win.
And of course, Woodbridge kind of hanging around the 500 mark, a team that some people expecting some things from, and of course can be wide open sometimes when it comes to Virginia high school basketball in the public schools. We'll see if the Vikings are able to go ahead and make a run as they move through the season. Well, of course, we'll continue our talk about high school basketball in just a bit, but earlier, Brandon and I talked about the area's top football prospects and what schools they chose on National Signing Day. Now time to talk a little National Signing Day. Of course, so much talent when it comes to football in the DMV. And Brandon, some of these guys finding themselves homes. We start at St. John's, where they have a pair of very nice players who are going to be playing for some pretty good programs.
Definitely. You're talking about 2 of the best guys in the area, Terrell Hall and Aaron Hansford. Hall got scooped up by Alabama, another big-time Alabama commit in the DMV. He's going to go there along with guys like Jonathan Allen, Deshaun Hand, and be a DMVer on that defensive line for Alabama. Aaron Hansford was picking between UCLA and Texas A&M. He decided to go the A&M route. He recently decided he wanted to be a wide receiver instead of a linebacker. You saw a few schools back off, but A&M really still wanted him, and he's going to be a wide receiver for the Aggies.
He could be a wide receiver for now. You never know down there. They can always use some linebackers. Texas A&M know more for the offense than for the defense. You see Hall there putting on the Alabama cap. Of course, Hansford as well with again, as you mentioned, going down there to play at Texas A&M, and they can obviously use some things. You look at Hall's rankings there, number 6 defensive end, courtesy of ESPN's rankings. As I think I heard somewhere, I think Alabama's gotten the 3 of the last 4 years they've gotten a big defensive lineman from the DMV, so they definitely are mining the talent here in DC.
Yeah, definitely. And Hall was one of the few 5-stars in the area by some publications, and Alabama seems to be able to cherry pick the best of the best in the area the last few years.
Yeah, you see Aaron Hansford there. We talked about him, number 7 athlete. So, of course, I think sometimes you have to be leery when you see that athlete label because they might be getting switched. And as we said, Texas A&M not known for their defense over the last few years. So I'm sure the good thing for Aaron will be the fact he'll be able to help them somewhere on the field.
Yeah, I know a lot of schools really loved him as a linebacker. I mean, he's a big guy. He's got that linebacker size, but he's as fast as a safety. I mean, he's got blazing speed for his size. And you talk about a guy who can really come in and make a difference on either side of the ball. It's definitely Aaron. He's got great hands. He's a big hitter. No matter where he ends up, he's just a good athlete, and they're going to find somewhere to plug him in eventually.
You see him there, of course, dressed all in black, though. An exciting day for him. Nothing bad as he puts on that Texas A&M Aggies cap. Of course, Hansford, part of that St. John's program, has played some pretty good ball over the last few years. And if you'd like to check out the complete version of Brandon and I's chat about National Signing Day, you can do it at DMVSTREAM.com. Let's continue looking back at high school basketball with the weekend rewind. And of course, a matchup of a local public school standout team. That would be Battlefield taking on Kecoughtan, and Battlefield getting the win, Adam.
Yeah, Battlefield was the second Northern Virginia team to participate in the Virginia Vantage Hoops High School Classic, and they actually won against Kecoughtan. They led 48-33 at the half. Vernon Kirby came out really strong. He had some nice drives to the rim. He played very efficient basketball for the Bobcats. He scored 9 points. Shanari Street, the 2017 forward, finished with 12 points and 6 rebounds at the half. And 2016 forward Blake Pagan had a very solid outing. He finished with a double-double, 15 points, 11 rebounds, and he also dished out 6 assists. Sophomore guard Braden Galt also had a really good game. He finished with 16 points. He scored 10 of his 16 in the first half and shot 6 of 6 from the foul line. He also grabbed 5 boards and dished out an assist. There was only 11 total turnovers committed in this game. It was really clean basketball being played by both teams. The difference in the game, I think, was that Battlefield was able to get 40 foul shot attempts and Kecoughtan only earned 25. VCU head coach Will Wade and JMU assistant coach Bill Phillips were in the gym during this game and throughout the course of the evening at the Classic, which was a great event. I think it was really great. And Battlefield, both the Northern Virginia teams represented and they won.
Adam, what do you think there was the disparity? Was it the force of play that Battlefield was doing, driving to the rim more, anything that kind of gave them more foul shooting attempts?
Yeah, they were just really sharing the ball. They were passing it around. They played like a team, and that was really the key to the game. They really did a good job and got to the foul line. Shanari Street, like I said, was the top performer. He finished with a double-double. He had 21 points and 12 rebounds. He's really stepping up and emerging. He's a nice inside-out presence for Battlefield. He's got really good footwork on the low block, and he also displays a really nice touch from the perimeter. I think Shanari is really going to step up down the stretch for the Bobcats.
That'd be big right now. Battlefield leading Conference 8 with an undefeated mark in the conference there. Also, you know, guys like Street trying to go ahead and move it on, maybe even better what they did last year, which was a loss in the regional semifinals. Let's get to our final game of the weekend rewind. That would be an IAC matchup between Bullis and St. Albans, and the Bulldogs of Bullis, because they're both Bulldogs, Brandon, going ahead to get the victory.
Yeah, it was definitely an up-and-down game all game. Talk about Bullis really wanted the pressure, and they weren't able to do that in the first half, but the second half they kind of turned the tables. Kyrie Walker wasn't as demonstrative as he usually is at scoring points, but defensively he really impacted the game. He had a couple blocks. He shut down their best, St. Albans' best player in George Walker, and he let Vital Morris, a sophomore, step up, and he really played well. He had 25 points. Was good from 3, got to the rim, as you see there. He really stepped up, and I think he can provide a spark for Bullis as a sophomore in the future.
And of course, Morris with a big game there, and really this an important game. Bullis sweeping the season series, and I think the other important thing about this for Bullis is the fact it keeps them alive in the IAC race with that big game looming against Episcopal later in the year, correct?
Definitely. They kind of struggled in the beginning of the season. They had some tougher games against teams like Westtown from out of state, but now that they've gotten into conference play, they've kind of found themselves a little bit. They've been a little more consistent, and they've strung together a couple of wins, so hopefully they can keep that going against Landon this Friday and Episcopal coming up.
Of course, you talked about Morris, our top performer. That's a pretty good stat line right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 25 points for a sophomore, and it's even more so 9 of 9 from the free throw line. You don't see that from a sophomore very often, so definitely a big game for Votto coming out in the local scene.
And of course, Bullis with the win, sweeping the season series with St. Albans and trying to keep that possibility of a huge game between them and Episcopal. Last game of the regular season for those two teams should be a good one, could be for a lot of different things if they're able to go ahead and keep playing like they have been. We'll preview some of the upcoming basketball action of the week, but we'll do that in moments. But first, our Darcy Tharp caught up with Thomas Gadsden from Virginia Elite and Lake Braddock's James Butler.
Hello, Darcy Tharp here with DMVSTREAM.COM. I'm joined by Thomas Gadsden from Virginia Elite Basketball and James Butler from Lake Braddock. Thank you both for being here today.
Good having you.
Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about the team, what Virginia Elite's team is about?
Sure. This year we were very fortunate to have a number of young men on the team that are going on to play Division I basketball. Ronald Austin, who's going to NJIT, Michael Janowski, who's going to represent at the United States at West Point, and then we have young man James Butler and Grant Golden. Grant is going to University of Richmond, and James is going to represent at the Naval Academy. And so we had a host of the young men, but we've had a really good run this past spring and summer, playing in Texas and Vegas and Philadelphia, and these young men really show that they can play at a high level and against high level competition.
Wow, that must be really an experience, getting to play everywhere and get a lot more experience. And James, what has it been like being part of the team?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've been able to play for them for 2 years, and it's great coaching staff, great teammates. You know, we travel all over the country and we play top-notch competition, so it's truly been a blessing.
Sounds like it. Yes. And what do you see in the future for James?
Well, you know, I'm very excited. First of all, any of our players will get Division I scholarships. And James has been a staple of our program. He's kind of, I would call my go-to guy. When times got tough, I always went to him. There were times that I would call out his name, so there's no secret where the ball was going, but he always delivered. Worked hard at practice, harder at practice than he even played in the games, and that's what college coaches look for, and there's no time I was ever disappointed in his play.
Well, that's fantastic. And James, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but you know, you are a part of a very well-renowned sports family, so can you tell us, have you ever felt any pressure from that, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of pressure that comes along with it, but I really take it as an honor. My sister plays for UConn, and my dad played for the Naval Academy. My mom ran track there also. So it's definitely a sports family, and I really enjoy that.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on keeping up the family tradition, and thank you for being here today.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Of course, lots of games coming up this weekend. We look at two with our segment. It's called the Weekly Fast Forward, and we start with a Capital Beltway Conference matchup. Brandon, it's National Christian taking on Riverdale Baptist.
Yeah, big private school PG County matchup. National Christian's been one of the best teams in the area all year, and Riverdale's typically a powerhouse, but this year is thought to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, but they've actually played pretty good, surprisingly. National Christian, they've beaten API, they've beaten some really national rated teams. They've been really great this year behind Christian Matthews mostly. He's one of my favorite players I've seen all year. Exactly what you're looking for in a wing. He can get to the rim, he can shoot the three, he's super athletic, he's long, he defends well. He was really a steal for Georgia Tech, and I expect him to just dominate like he has all year long. Another guy who's played really well for NCA is Muhammad Kabir. He was actually committed to go to Citadel. They had some incidents going on there, and he decommitted, and there's uncertainty whether they're going to let him out of his commitment. But if not, he's going to explode on, if he does, he's going to explode on the recruiting scene. There's lots of schools interested in him. He's blown up this year. And I think that's just going to be a good game locally for National Christian to kind of prove what they're capable of doing in the Capital Beltway Conference.
You mentioned the Kabir story. Of course, the interesting thing there is that he wanted to go to Citadel because he went to a military school in Nigeria. So I think any school that gets him, they're gonna, this kid's got discipline already in his veins. He definitely is a guy that is going to be a big one in this player. But the guy you mentioned before, Christian Matthews, putting up some fantastic numbers this year.
Yeah, he has just been unstoppable this year. I mean, especially in local play, there hasn't been anyone able to guard him. I mean, when they play national players, they have guys who are able to really get on him, but there's not many guys who can cover a wing in this area of his stature. I mean, he's 6'3". He takes it out behind the arc. He's just really a good player, and I was really surprised more schools didn't get on him.
Well, obviously, National Christian very happy that they have him in the fold. Of course, big matchup when it comes to the Capital Beltway Conference. Some really good players there. Should be a fun one between National Christian and Riverdale Baptist. We will go ahead and continue the weekly fast forward. Before we do that, though, got to get our picks, and it looks like we're all in agreement on this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, National Christian's highly ranked right now. Riverdale's kind of trying to figure things out, so I think definitely National Christian's the favorite going into this game.
Adam?
Yeah, I think National Christian got it. I think Christian Matthews will be able to lead them.
I'm going to go National Christian as well. You got that dynamic duo of Matthews and Kabir. Going to be too much for Riverdale Baptist in this contest. Now we will continue our weekly fast forward in just a bit. But first, our Josh Apple had a chance to sit down with Eleanor Roosevelt's Nagi Marshall, one of the area's top uncommitted prospects.
I'm Josh Apple. I'm here with Nagi Marshall from Eleanor Roosevelt. He's a guard. He's averaging over 17 points a game this year, really having a big-time year after averaging just under 10 a game, really stepped up your game. What do you attribute that to?
Hard work and practice, you know, being pushed by my teammates. And teammates pushed me so hard, and the pace is way slower in the game, so it makes it much easier.
And I know you got off to a strong start in the summer playing with DC Premier. That really helped your momentum heading into this season. Talk about how those experiences helped you.
It helped me a lot, you know, playing with guys that are better than me, you know, making it hard on me to play better defense, you know, making it harder on me to score, so it helped me a lot.
Last year, your team went 21-4, won a Prince George's County championship, off to another good start this year. How do you keep that momentum going?
Just keep working hard on defense, you know, rebounding, holding teams to under 40 points every game, and that will help a lot.
All right, next, talk us through your recruiting process. You've had a lot of Division I offers. Tell us some of those offers you're receiving and some visits you've taken in the process so far.
I'm taking one unofficial visit to Rutgers University. I currently hold offers from Virginia Tech, VCU, Rhode Island, UMass, Rutgers, and I think that's about it.
Now, at this time, I know it's still early, you still have some time, but do you have any favorites or schools you really like to get interest from?
Not really right now. You know, I'm just focusing on my season.
All right, and the next question I have for you is, how is the recruiting process for you? Some people find it enjoyable, some people find it stressful. Just talk us through your experiences.
You know, it has ups and downs. Sometimes it's, you know, cool. Coaches, you get to talk to the coaches back and forth. Sometimes it's annoying, you know, come home on a weekday and they're calling and stuff. But besides that, I mean, it's okay.
And last, do you remember that first offer you got and how that was for you, the emotions?
My first offer was in the summer after AAU practice, and I mean, I was pretty excited when I got it. Yeah, I was pretty excited.
Well, there you have it. Look for Nagi Marshall to shine next year playing in college, but for now, one season left with Eleanor Roosevelt, and they're doing good things here.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Nagi. Now our second game of the weekly Fast Forward. It's a Cedar Run Conference 8-game to Prince William County rivals, to old school Prince William County rivals, as it's Stonewall Jackson taking on Osborne. Adam?
That's right. Osborne and Stonewall Jackson will meet up on Friday. Stonewall Jackson is led by Keaton Simmons, the top scorer in Prince William County. He's averaging 24.5 points per game. And Osborne is led by Anthony Pearson, who's actually had a breakout year this year for Osborne. He's a junior who's averaging 14 points per game, and he's shooting over 80% from the foul line. Anthony Pearson scored 26 points in their previous matchup, and Osborne actually held Keaton Simmons to a season-low 15 points. Jeremiah Delaney and Karan White were the seniors for Osborne, who were absolutely relentless in pressuring him for the whole time he was on the court. Osborne was able to pull it out 69-66, and I would imagine they would prefer to keep it as another low-scoring affair. Again, Keaton Simmons is one of the top players in the area, but 2016 guards Zach Hitton and Devin Nordyke have also stepped up and helped him out tremendously. Zach Hinton has been really good at getting to the foul line. He's a slashing guard, and he's another guard that Osborne's going to have to contain if they want to win this one.
Yeah, Hinton had 18 in that matchup you mentioned against Osborne earlier in the season. Of course, that game was played at Stonewall Jackson. This one will be at Osborne. So, of course, the Eagles looking to defend the home court against the Raiders. Again, these two teams go way back. So, a lot of places, so many new schools in Virginia. Not so much with these two teams. They've been around for a long time. Lots of matches in the history books between the Raiders and the Eagles. Well, guys, let's go ahead and make our picks on this one. And I think at least some of us are in agreement on this one. Brandon, what did you see this one coming out as?
I mean, one thing I've learned while covering high school sports is you never bet against the team with the best players. So that's why I went with Stonewall.
Adam?
I mean, that's a fair pick. I mean, Stonewall is really talented. I think this game can go either way. And like I said earlier, Osborne's going to want to try to stay out of a track meet because, I mean, Stonewall has a lot of firepower. But I think that Jeremiah Delaney's going to pick up the challenge here, and he's going to lock up Keaton Simmons. I think Osborne will pull it out.
I'm going to go with Osborne as well in this one. Eagles go ahead and get the victory. This one very important, as in this contest, these two teams really trying to go ahead and keep pace. Battlefield out in front, trying to go ahead and not let the Bobcats get too far away in that race in Conference 8. Well, just a little bit of time left, and we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the All-Met Sports Top 10 rankings. And I tell you what, guys, it seems like it gets traded off between those WCAC teams. Of course, the big win by DeMatha helps vault them back to the top.
Yeah, I mean, especially you see Gonzaga lose the other day to McNamara. So Gonzaga could be sliding down that list a little bit, but you look at one team that really surprised me was H.D. Woodson. I mean, they've just been unstoppable this year, and Antoine Walker has been a beast on the boards. He's been doing everything for that team, and they're really the surprise to me in that top 10.
Any quick surprise for you, Adam?
I really like what St. John's is doing. I think they got a bunch of guards who are really talented, and Maryland commit Anthony Cowan's doing an excellent job leading them. I think they're a really good team to watch this year.
And, of course, that big win for St. John's over Gonzaga this week. Again, a double deuce for Gonzaga, double dose, I should say, of losses. Tough week for them, but again, when it gets to the WCAC championships, anything can happen. We've seen it before. A team with Mello Trimble, an O'Connell team, went down. A lot of things can happen. We'll be watching it all here on the Prep Zone. So for Brandon, for Adam, I'm Jeremy Huber, and again, you've been watching the Prep Zone.